Poland will shut its border entirely with Belarus on Friday.
Belarus to Poland and
Poland will shut its border entirely with Belarus on Friday.
Something sinister is happening on the Polish-Belarusian border. The crossings are closed, and the border is packed with soldiers. Belarusians dreaming of crossing from Belarus to Poland and Europe are now helpless. A human tide forms long queues, hundreds of freight trucks wait, and even the Eastern Express trains cannot pass. China's trains, Belarus's trucks, Putin and Xi's dreams are all stuck in the same frame. It all started when Poland closed all land border crossings with Belarus indefinitely, effective midnight on September 12th. This was not retaliation, but purely a security measure. The decision was made following the Zapad 2025 joint exercises and the downing of Russian drones entering Polish airspace. At the same time, Lithuania and Estonia imposed partial restrictions in their own airspace. NATO increased its early warning and air patrol intensity on the eastern flank. The gate closed, the barrier rose, and the waiting line stretched for miles. The first scene captured on camera was taken at dawn on the Brest-Tiraspol line, showing passenger cars and trucks lined up one after another. The sound of horns, frantic passenger conversations, and the rush to cross before the border window closed. This is not just a border incident. It is a blow to the daily life, economy, and psychology of Belarusian society. And there are three victims of this closure: Belarusians, the government in Minsk, and Moscow. So why did Poland take such a harsh decision? Two developments in the last week directly affected Warsaw's security compass. The first was the shooting down of Russian-made attack/reconnaissance drones that entered Polish airspace, passing over Belarusian territory. Polish F-16s and Dutch F-35s were scrambled. NATO's Italy-based early warning aircraft and multinational tanker aircraft took to the skies. Patriot batteries stationed in Germany were on high alert. Polish authorities announced that drones repeatedly violating Polish airspace were shot down. Press releases from the Dutch Ministry of Defense and NATO also confirmed that F-35s played a direct role in these operations. It was not disclosed exactly which weapons were used to shoot down the drones, but the standard air patrol configuration of F-16 and F-35s includes AIM-120 class medium-range air-to-air missiles and close-in gun/CI strike options. It is likely that the drones were shot down with these. While the airspace was being scanned end-to-end, civilian flights were temporarily suspended and runways were closed at some airports. This was one of the harshest immediate response scenarios seen to date on NATO's eastern flank. The second development was Poland's military and physical reinforcement of its eastern border. The government simultaneously deployed tens of thousands of personnel, armored vehicles, reconnaissance units, and border guards to the land border with a permanent closure decision. Although the figures were shared piecemeal in official statements, Polish public media and regional press reported that around 40,000 soldiers and security personnel were deployed on the eastern border. Permanent fortifications and sensor networks were also included in the security system as part of the Eastern Shield project. Thus, the borderline has been transformed from a single phase to a multi-layered model against the risks of migration management, smuggling, and infiltration. If the border is closed, who takes the first blow? The first blow hit those who pass through that gate every day with work permits, those with relatives on the other side, those going to medical appointments, and those who trade on a daily basis. When the closure was announced, queues formed overnight on the Belarusian side. Footage taken in the early hours of the morning shows families hurriedly stuffing their belongings into their luggage, drivers getting out of their vehicles to ask questions from a distance to border police, and children dozing off from exhaustion. It is difficult to give a definitive figure, but Belarusian and Russian media outlets and regional television stations reported that thousands of people tried to cross the border at once in the hours before the closure. Although Poland has exception procedures for humanitarian reasons, exceptions are far from a real solution in a regime where the gates are closed. Why are truck queues critical? Because Belarus's lifelines are not limited to oil and fertilizer exports. The supply of many products, such as spare parts, food, medicine, electronics, and construction machinery, depends on wholesalers, distribution warehouses, and transit corridors on the EU side. The closure is forcing truck traffic to suddenly turn eastward. This creates two costs: distances increase and insurance freight premiums rise. Moreover, considering that the fuel market within Russia has already been under pressure in recent months due to refinery fires, repair cycles and temporary export bans, the fuel, spare parts, service triangle is becoming more expensive and irregular for the Belarusian TIR fleet. Supply plans will be revised, delivery dates will be extended, and losses of perishable goods will increase. Polish press and regional news channels reported that hundreds of trucks and over 1,000 passenger vehicles were waiting within the first 24 hours of the closure, with the queue spilling into city traffic in some places. During the same period, even Belarusian state media acknowledged unusual congestion at some crossing points, which is a rare admission. The sudden closure of borders disrupts people's plans, but the real damage comes from uncertainty. If there is no answer to the question, when will the border gates open, all scheduled tasks such as school registration, employment contracts, supply agreements and hospital appointments are disrupted. Banking transactions are delayed, false alarms are triggered on card spending, and the inflow of cash in euros, dollars from abroad decreases. This scenario rapidly increases psychological tension in a country like Belarus, which is centrally planned and security-focused. Meanwhile, there is a donation campaign for Ukraine by United24 in the video description. If you want to take part in the fight for freedom, we are waiting for your support. Now let's get back to our main topic. The question, should we stock up, circulates in people's kitchens, and a reflex to fill up fuel tanks out of caution emerges at city gas stations. Even without actual scarcity, the feeling of scarcity